Did you know that Calo was launched with just a $2,000 MVP budget? And within 3 years, they became the leading meal subscription service in MENA. Today, I'm chatting with Ahmed Al Rawi, Calo's founder and CEO, to learn how they did it. We discuss Ahmed's background, how he A/B tested multiple startups before launching Calo, the explosive referral program in Saudi, and many other startup lessons. It's the first time Ahmed shares this story, so I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Ahmed, thank you so much for making the time. I hope we're going to have an amazing experience. There's already a pre-intro about you just before we started. Your call, how would you like to start?
Oof. Since I have since I have the microphone, I just want to tell the world, whatever it is that you want to do, you can do it. As long as you want it badly enough. If you want something badly enough, you can do it. If you don't do it, it means you don't want it badly enough. That's kind of a philosophy that's been like simmering in my head a lot in the past few weeks. And man, it's just so true. Like if you want something, you'll do it.
Yeah, it's simple, and like if you're honest with yourself, why else? What are the other reasons why you didn't get what you want? Really?
Yeah. I mean, we're good at making up excuses in our heads of like, oh, the reason why I didn't do this is because of 1, 2, 3. I don't have the resources. I don't have the time. I don't have the experience. Blah blah blah. But yeah. Anyway, quite a random start, but it's something that's been on my mind, and you gave me the chance to start it the way I want to. So there you go.
I mean, I'm sure we're gonna reconnect on this, like in many ways, especially in your journey, man. So, what I really respect and like about you, first of all, I like builders in general, especially when they are from the region. We go maybe like a few years together. We became friends around the time. We started, like initially we worked together. We helped you initially with early stage growth on Calo, but then we invested. So like just for the people to know, we have like a relationship. I'm not biased. Like the podcast is meant to really be as honest as possible. We will promote Calo whenever it's earned and deserved, but in general, like we have like a certain relationship. Thank you again. You said like you expect tough questions disregarding the friendship and everything that we have. So this is awesome. Just setting the tone. What I really like about you is just like what you said. You want to believe it, you can do it, etc. I think you're one person who. First, I like that you're even a dropout. So I just want to really pass quickly through your story until where you are now today, including if you want to touch a little bit on your age, how early you started, etc. There are all kinds of key components into start having this mindset at this age. So yes, please take us through quickly childhood, early development, when you knew there's something ticking, and then what did you do about it, etc. I might like ask follow-up questions.
Okay, awesome. So I said the story many times, but never in a recorded setting. So this is going to be interesting. Nice. I started my journey early on. So starting all the way back, just to say the story from the beginning. So I was born in Iraq, which is where my family is from originally. We moved in the 90s and settled in Bahrain. Bahrain is home, grew up there. My friends, family, everyone I grew up with is there. I mean, I'm here now. And I studied computer engineering in college. So for context, I grew up in a techie family. My dad was a computer engineering professor. So I had access, maybe an unfair advantage to have access to computers at a young age. I was like learning how to dabble with Photoshop, front page at the time, building websites for fun in school.
That was what age?
I don't know, maybe like 12, 13, like quite early on. And I've always had this fascination with toys that I had. Any toy that had an electronic component eventually was broken, and I wanted to see what's inside of it, like how it worked and how it functioned from the inside. Every toy that had a sound or like a musical or sound component, I would open it. I'd find out that there's a magnet of some sorts, and I'd try to like play around with the components. And then when I graduated, I wanted to do something that I thought was interesting and fun. So I took on computer engineering. There was definitely some influence from the family, but I thought I was gonna like learn how to build these amazing robotics projects and inventions and electronics types of like really cool, exciting projects. In my mind, I was like, I'm going to be in a lab building stuff all the time. I realized that I was not going to do that anytime soon. It was mostly theory, and I was learning about random things that I didn't think were very relevant. So the good thing that happened was in that summer when I was graduating high school, I ended up learning about this thing called Arduino, which was like an electronics kind of open source microcontroller. And I bought a kit online and I started learning and I started developing a couple of things for fun on the side. Long story short, I continued building things for fun, and I was pulled into university events in college, so organized student events that I ended up building electronics for. So the first thing we built was really simple and fun. When you walk into an event partition, an audio message would play. There's a motion sensor, detects someone walked in, plays an audio message. So simple things for fun here and there. And then a year or so later, I kept building more and more things, and one of them was end up being this photo booth concept. So I figured, I was into photography. I figured, if you plug this 2.5 millimeter headphone jack into the camera and you link it to the Arduino, you can program it to take a picture at a particular event. And I did this again for fun. But then as I developed it through a couple of events, one of the students came up to me and told me, hey, I wanna have this in my wedding. I wanna have this photo booth concept in my wedding. And at the time I wanted to start a business, but I had no idea what I should start. A bit of context that's maybe a bit personal, but I think it's very relevant to the story, is that as I was graduating from high school, we were going through maybe family-wise, we were going through some tough financial and emotional situation. At the time, my dad lost his job, and we just had a couple of rough years, and that had an effect on me, on just feeling like I want to take responsibility. I was you could say a spoiled kid in a sense, where I was just playing all day long, and I felt I'm actually I'm a liability right now. I need to support the family and I need to do something useful. And I didn't know what that something useful could look like. But that kind of created a chip on my shoulder, or it maybe grew the chip on my shoulder, because I've had one since a young age. I felt I maybe didn't belong, or it's the migrant chip in a sense of we could move anytime now. That was said to me a lot as a kid. Long story short, I ended up launching that business, and so I took the student's number. She never became a client, but I found other clients eventually, and that was my first business. I started at 19 from college.
Nice. So this is about 10 years ago, just to understand the time frame.
Yeah. It's exactly 10 years ago. So 2014 was around that time, and I just fell in love.
First business, first time you make money from a real product in real life. Okay. 10 years.
Yes. I fell in love with the process. I was always a builder, but I would build things for fun. That was the first time that it's my validation walked up to me, Yeah. Usually you're taught as a startup founder to build an MVP and go get validation, go talk to customers, go find customers. It's I was building things for fun, and I was lucky enough that my validation came to me. My first customer walked up to me and told me, hey, I want this.
Okay, so this is the first business you got the taste. Maybe you got some confidence. It's hey, I can do something valuable and sell it. All right, and?
Yeah. So I did that for a couple of years, and it was my, bachelor's in business. I learned a ton about business. I was a one-man show. I was outsourcing some of the operation, so the installation of the device and things like that. I was doing cold calling and sales, and I was learning so much online. It was around that time, I didn't know what a startup was. I didn't know much about the startup world, but it was around that time when I started learning more and more about the world of startups. And I stumbled upon this event called Startup Weekend, where you have to build a startup in 3 days, pretty much over the weekend. Mm-hmm. And that's when I started engaging more with the startup community, learning more about the startup terms, what an MVP was, and all these things. This was still around 2014. So when I was about 19, 20 in that age range. So I mean, and this was also around the first time when I wanted to drop out of college, because I was I'm making a lot of money. At the time, for me, it was a lot of money. I feel I need to put more attention here. Things are working. I want to expand. I want to, hire people. I was all in. I was very immersed. obviously that wasn't received very well by the family. The idea of me dropping out because I have some sort of like fun business that seems to be kind of sort of working for an academic family, it was like blasphemy. So it was received with a lot of maybe skepticism and like not much support, to say the least.
Okay, but you still did it. You still did it.
Not at that point. So at that point, actually, I had like lots of. I had a rough time with the family where like it just went back and forth and clashed a lot. I was, threatened to be kicked out of the house and like all sorts of drama I don't want to get into. But like that really built my character because it was the first time that it felt like I strongly believed in something to like
an extent.
To be comfortable enough to like go against my family. And it's not something that I don't want to promote going against your family, but like if you believe in something strongly enough where like people would fight you for it and you still would dare to go through it, then it says something. It says that you're either crazy or delusional or something you're doing is right and nobody sees it other than you. I think it was a mix of both. I think it was a mix of both in my case.
For sure it is. And I don't think you're promoting like going against your family or whatever, but like if they don't know, they don't know also. Like maybe your family wasn't entrepreneurial by default. Maybe they were academic, but like not really entrepreneurial. And then like maybe you would treat your kids differently, right? Like, so, okay, I totally relate.
My relationship with the family now is much, much better. Like we're way over that, but like that was an interesting period of my life where I learned a lot and I was challenged in a few different ways. But that really built my character, I believe, because I was on my own, back against the wall. So anyway, I could talk about that for hours, but I don't think it's the topic. Then about a couple of years into it, I started getting bored because I wasn't learning anymore. I realized that I was driven mostly by the curiosity of like, oh wow, like I don't know how to do this thing, and I go and read a book, or I go and like read a blog post, or just talk to people and learn about it and execute it and try it and fail and try again. But then after a while, it started becoming just repetitive and boring, where it's like, okay, you get a client, you set up the event details, you go and install it or have someone install it, and rinse and repeat. So it got to a point where it wasn't exciting me as much anymore. So I ended up managing to sell it to one of my biggest clients at the time, which was like an event management company. And there was nothing like massive because I had ignored or neglected the business towards the end. So long story short, I mean, I kind of got someone to buy it. They didn't do very well. I bought it back and then I sold it to someone else. But like it was basically, I wanted to get rid of it. I wanted to do something else. And I was still young and foolish and in college. And I didn't know what exactly I wanted to build next. And as I was like going through that process, I was figuring it out. We were like just chilling with the boys, and someone mentioned an idea which was like, hey, it would be cool if like you guys could build an app or something where I can book football courts or football venues through it, because it's kind of annoying. I have to call the guy and sometimes he doesn't pick up, and I feel like it can be done better through an app. So being young and foolish and not optimizing for what's a good business, but just optimizing for, hey, that sounds like a cool idea. I went ahead and decided, okay, that sounds like something I can build. So I went and built that. That was my second business. That was like actually thinking more in startup terms, like you're innovating, you have an MVP, you're building a solution to a problem. But I wasn't really thinking much about the market size. 3 years later, just to save the details, lots of learnings, raised a bit of venture funding. We were the guinea pigs of the VCs in the region. This was around 2016, 2017. And we scaled to the GCC. We were processing about $3 million in football court bookings. And we were taking like a 10% commission out of that. So it was enough to pay the bills, but yearly. Not much beyond that. Yearly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Correct. Yeah. So about like 10% of that was our gross, like $300,000. So you pay a few salaries and then you're done. And the problem was, that's fine if there's a big market and you can scale, but the market was very small. And I got depressed towards the end of that journey, to say it bluntly. So like when we started that journey, I was getting out of bed with energy and excitement every day. Towards the end of it, I could barely get out of bed. And I had to do a lot of soul searching, a lot of reflection at that point, and because I was like, what's going on? Like I was in love with this. I used to really enjoy working on this, and now it seems like I don't anymore. And the conclusion of that was the realization that I love building high impact products that serve a large number of people. High impact meaning it's solving a big problem, and it's solving that big problem for a large number of people, not 10 people, not 1,000 people, actually millions of people. And towards the beginning of that journey, that's how it felt. That's what it felt like. It felt like I was solving a big problem for a lot of people, and that is impact. And it feels good. It feels good to think that something I created is enjoyed and being used and is found to be useful by others. But then towards the end of that journey, I realized actually it seems like this problem is a small problem, and very few people actually face this problem because less than 5% of the world's population plays team sports, football or whatever it is. And that was actually going down. More people were going to the gym and to CrossFit and whatever, and less people were playing team sports. So I learned that it doesn't matter how hard you work as much as it matters what problem you're working on. And that was like a really big realization for me. So anyway, long story short is I decided to leave the company, and that was also like really tough. Like I was thinking, I raised money, I went to these investors and convinced them to like put in their hard-earned money into this business, and thinking that it's going to be $100 million business. And now I don't believe in it anymore. Now I have to go back to them and tell them, guys, I'm really sorry, but like I just don't think this is going to be as big as I thought before. Listen, I can keep working for a while if you want me to. I can, try to sell the business if you want me to, and like pay you back dollar to dollar as much as I can. But then my co-founder at the time didn't feel this way. He wanted to keep going. He was in love with the sports field. So they were like, listen, this is a small investment for us in the grand scheme of things. We actually would like to see it through. It's fine. You can leave. No hard feelings. So that was like a big sigh of relief. And I left with the mission of, okay, I don't want to jump into another idea immediately. This time around, I want to think deeply and thoroughly about what problem am I solving? And I want to make sure that it's a big problem that a lot of people have. And then I was even thinking, well, how do you measure when you have actually cracked a problem, or when you've solved a big problem for a lot of people? Because like you could put a metric on almost everything, and you need to an extent to know if you're making progress towards it. And I was thinking, well, if you're solving a big problem for someone, then they'd be willing to pay you for it. The bigger that problem is, the more they'd be willing to pay you for it. And if you're solving that problem for a lot of people, then a lot of people would be willing to pay you a lot of money for it. And there was a magical number that I pulled from my, I don't know where, which was $100 million. If you can build a $100 million business, then I believe you have solved a big problem for a lot of people. Because like you could put into numbers and be like, well, if I'm solving $1,000 problem for you, and I solve it for 100,000 people, that's $100 million. So that was the thinking process. And I mean, even some of the investors were asking me, oh, you must be jumping into another idea. The grass is greener on the other side. And I was like, no, guys, really, like I have no idea what I'm going to do next. I have some money in savings, and I just want to like spend as much time as I need to explore what could be that concept or that problem that I can solve that can get me to that number, that can get me to that. And it's not the number, like it's not this was a materialistic mission. Like I'm obsessed with the game or the sport of business of like building products and having people use them.
Okay, and so what did you do? How long did it take you? I saw on your LinkedIn you showed like a short description that you went and like A/B tested or figure out a way to test startup ideas, not like test things in the startup, test multiple startups and startup ideas with this framework in mind, which is basically maximize for impact, I believe. What happened and how did you end up with Calo and validated Calo before we jump a lot into the details of Calo?
So this was towards the end of 2018, beginning of 2019. The first thing I did was I took a one-way ticket to San Francisco in the US. And the reason why was because I thought I need to learn from the best. It seems like the guys in Silicon Valley have figured this out. I want to go and spend time with them as much as possible so I can learn how do they pick the right problem to solve in the right market and just learn generally how startups are built. And I've been there a couple of times before for conferences, so I had an idea or two about like what it's like, but I didn't know anyone where I could count on them or like spend a lot of time with them and so on. I could message a few people and like get to know more people and so on. So anyway, I took a one-way ticket. I had a friend in LA that I spent a bit of time with, and then I went to San Francisco, and I tried to go to events. I tried to talk to people. I pinged a couple of people I met before in events in the past, and tried to like see if they can connect me with anyone, or if they if they know of any problems to solve or markets that are on the rise. That wasn't very successful. I realized that the community in San Francisco is really difficult to crack because the real builders are behind closed doors and they're very protective of their time and energy. And it was very difficult for me to like crack into that community. And I wasn't particularly like someone people wanted to meet at the time. I was like a failed founder. Meanwhile, obviously, San Francisco is very expensive, and I wasn't making much progress. So I was still just like roaming around for a bit, and then I decided I had a friend coming over to we were going to do like a fun trip. We were going to drive from San Francisco all the way to New York. So it's like a cross-country 7-day trip. It was a lot of fun. And then in New York, I have a few friends. So I started staying in founder houses. So there are these co-living spaces where someone would like rent a big house with like 10 rooms and starts renting rooms to people who are also on that journey wanting to start a company. Not everyone in that house or in that like co-living space would be a founder or wants to be a founder, but some were, and that was a lot of fun. So yeah, I stayed in New York for a few months, and I kept learning more and more every day about different markets. My mission was I just want to find the next problem to solve, and I was really industry agnostic. I was learning a lot about different industries, about different fields, different startups that were launching in different markets that I didn't know anything about. Like one of the markets that I observed was the elderly market. Apparently in the US, the elderly market, which is people beyond a certain age, is significant enough where you have a couple of million people entering into that category every year, and those people eventually like have certain needs and have certain desires and things they want to spend on. So at the time, I remember seeing this company I think it was called Papa, that was linking college students with extra time with people who have an elderly person at home to take care of them. 3 years later, that company became a unicorn. So like you can find opportunities in fascinating places. And I was just learning more and more about different industries and different markets every day. And I was launching MVPs quite quickly. Like I would learn about something and I'd be like, okay, how can I test this? And I'd launch an MVP within like a week or two. And one of those concepts was something to do with media subscriptions.
But so, 1 second, how would you launch them in a week or two? You're alone sitting there, like launching them. Tell us a little bit. I'm sure there are some people like listening, like, okay, how do I start? Maybe I have an idea. How do I start? If you have cracked a few ways, easy ways, whatever. Don't get too technical, whatever you want. But like, tell us a little bit more. What did you do?
Yeah, so obviously some of the ideas took more than a week to launch, but I've been building for a while, and you end up, once you get your 10,000 hours, you end up realizing how to like tear down things into their core and into what really matters. And not every concept as well can be really simplified to that degree, but my obsession is mostly in consumer startups or consumer businesses. And for consumer businesses, I think you can MVP, so you can build a minimal viable product, a very simplified version of the entire product, just to test it and prove the concept. So an example of the meal subscription kind of concept at the time, before it was even called Calo, I put together through, like I worked with a freelancer. I found someone that I think I've worked with before on a couple of projects. And I knew what tech stack I wanted to use because I wanted to keep it simple, and I wanted something that has developer availability. I sketched it myself, or I had inspirations of like it should look like this, should look like that. The functionality was super simple, and I documented. Okay, here's how it should work. There should be 6 pages. This page does this. This page does that. Here's the content. The user should log in or sign up and things like that. And here's the funny thing: there was no login or sign up in the first version. Like, it was extremely simple to a point of, I'll tell you how it worked and you laugh. When you want to launch something, most people are too much in love with their idea. So most people are too in love with their idea when they're about to launch it, and therefore they start fantasizing over, and then I can put this feature, and then I can have this button, and then I should do this. And then they have this level of protectiveness of like, no, I cannot launch it if it's not perfect. I will not launch it if it's not amazing and does all those things, because they almost associate the idea with themselves. And they're like, if this goes out and people see this, then it's a reflection of me. Yeah, but that's just silly fear. That's just it's so common. I had it, but like it's the newbie curse. Like, you think you matter, you think people care about what you're doing, and like your reputation is on the line, and if the website doesn't work, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
Please say it louder, man, because this is really so true, and we're all guilty. I'm very guilty of this, and we've had it, by the way, in 2 other episodes. Like, same thing. Everyone worrying about the same thing. We really don't matter, man. This is the idea. It's not about you. Will the idea make sense?
Man.
Will the user like it?
100%. So that's the main thing I wanted to validate. So I've experienced the meal subscription concept in the US that I liked. I was like, oh, this is interesting. I loved food, and I actually was brainstorming about a couple of food tech ideas. But then I thought, it seems like innovation in food tech is dead. Like, it seems like Uber Eats and Deliveroo and those guys have just figured out all the innovation that's to be done in the food tech space, and that's it. But I tried this and I was like, this is interesting. And it was like, it wasn't what Calo ended up being. It was simply meal subscription with an e-commerce experience, but then it was, the food was nice. And it was not personalized or anything. So it was like one size fits all, very like a basic experience. But I was like, okay, this is interesting. Let me try it. I built that website through the freelancer I worked with.
How much did it cost to build?
If I'm not mistaken, it cost it's been a long time, but probably between $1,000 to $2,000.
Okay, cool.
Like, not much.
Okay.
Yeah,
okay.
Not much.
That's how Calo started. Wait, that's how much it takes to start.
If I'm not mistaken, it cost $1,000 because it was a week and a half of work. And I spent another $1,000 on the initial domain.
Calo? Was it Calo also, that app? Or
No.
Something
But common mistake. It was called something else. And I had I bought the domain because I liked it. Turns out it's a terrible name. But anyway, like, I spent $2,000. $1,000 probably shouldn't have spent, but
So 1,000 real.
Yeah.
Nice.
So I end up documenting it, and the whole concept was, there's one thing I want to test. Will people see an ad for a service that offers XYZ, click on it, and then go through the journey on the website to purchase a package of meals, like, let's say 6 meals, 7 meals, whatever it is, like one package of, you're subscribing to a week. It was only a weekly concept. And so like the website was built in a way where it was pretty static. First you choose your city, and then you type your email, and then you would like choose the day you want to get the delivery. You're going to choose your package, and then you can actually choose your meals from a menu. So like I put together a bunch of like meals from different different sources and populated it with content.
Do they know
basically.
the sources, or you're just populating without like, and then later you worry about selling, like, or you already had like kind of.
So you're gonna hear it in a bit. So like you choose your meals, and then you'd go to the last step, which is putting your address, like where you want the delivery to reach to. And the last step is you choose your payment method, whether it's credit card or cash on delivery, because a cash on delivery back then was still a thing, as 2019, at least in the region. Mm-hmm. And then you'd press checkout. Like, I'm done. I have my phone number, my email, my address, my payment method, checkout. And then it tells you, thank you very much. We'll let you know when we launch in your city. So terrible experience, but it told me if customers will go through the effort and reach to that step. If you filled in your address and you put your like phone number and you chose your payment type, then there's a really high chance you would have paid and finished the subscription. So to me, that's validation that people are interested in the concept. So then I launched an ad also on Instagram while I was in the US, and in Riyadh, Dubai, and Bahrain, and I think it got 40 something subscribers. So people who reached all the way to the last step and pressed checkout in like 30 hours, in less than 2 days. And I felt bad and I stopped it because I also had intercom over there, and I was responding to people. Someone was asking me, hey, this looks amazing. I want to ask, where is it prepared? Someone else is asking, oh, I'm going to invite my friends after the first week if it goes well. And I'm like, guys, I'm so sorry, but like this whole thing is like one big experiment. So I felt bad because people were coming in and they were like, excited about it. And I'm like, yeah, maybe I got my answer. Maybe I should pause this for a bit. So that was kind of step one in validating it.
So Insta ads, simple website, no even payment, just like fake asking for payment, just until at least you get the validation you want. Assume whatever, 50% will not convert, but still it's a very nice proxy, I believe, right? So like this is a very good number. Try to hit it. The moment you feel bad is the moment you should go and like, okay, double down on the problem because it's actually working, and like there are some people excited actually about that. Okay, interesting. And did you do that for other ideas also, or like it's Calo who really like, or this concept who really kind of materialized the most, and this is where you really deployed like these things, or you've also kind of did similar concepts for others also and run ads and like try to benchmark, I don't know, cost per acquisition or demand?
Yeah, I did a couple of others that were like to this level of seriousness. Other ones were maybe they died at like conversation-based validation, where I didn't have to build the product because I had a couple of conversations and people didn't show a lot of excitement, and I didn't have enough conviction to go as far as to test it. But there were a couple that, yes, I built another MVP. It was fully functional. Some actually a lot more developed than this one. Like there was at the time the idea of Cameo had just raised a lot of money in the US, and what they would do is basically they get you like celebrity shout outs. Like you get Snoop Dogg to say, "What's up? Happy birthday," for like $500. And I was like, okay, maybe I should build that for the region. And I built it. And I reached out to a few celebrities, and I realized, okay, this is not for me. Like I do not enjoy this type of work, and I don't even know 90% of these celebrities. I just learned about them like yesterday while researching celebrities in the Middle East. So I figured it's not for me. But that actually had some traction. There were a couple of like transactions, but it was really difficult to get it up and running, and I wasn't really into it. And like the food idea then morphed into Calo, and I got a lot more excited for that one. I fell in love with the food tech concept, partly because I was the ideal customer for it. So I loved the convenience, and I kept fantasizing over the things I can do and the features that would be amazing for me to have as a customer. I was the ideal customer for Calo because I'm a busy professional who is obsessed with doing what they do. I loved like doing my work. And I optimized my food. So I eat to live. I don't live to eat. So I wanted my food to be nice and delicious, but also more importantly, I wanted it to give me energy throughout the day, not like put me on an afternoon slump and make me, not able to function anymore. And it was hard to find such options in a convenient way that were also personalized to my needs. Like you'd subscribe to a traditional meal subscription or like a diet company, as they were called, and they give you like rabbit portions that were designed for like a woman that's maybe 150 centimeters, but I'm a guy who's 180. Like, how does this make sense? So yeah, anyway, like I fell in love with the concept, and that's where eventually most of my time went to. And by the way, after this MVP, like I knew there was something here, right? Like there's something here, and this was an interesting area to expand further. But I was crippled. I had no idea how to go to the next step because I know nothing about commercial cooking. I know nothing about restaurants. I know nothing about kitchens. I'm not even a good cook. Like I barely cook every other weekend. That's why it was challenging for me to like find out what the next step is. I went and spoke to a bunch of restaurants, a bunch of healthy restaurants, meal subscription companies. I went and spoke to a bunch of cloud kitchens. And I was trying to get them to help me to maybe cook for me or like give me their menu. Initially, I was even thinking about it as a potential marketplace because my last company was a marketplace. And usually in tech startups, you want to be asset light and whatnot. So I was like, okay, maybe, what do I know about food? Maybe I partner with one of these guys. And I spoke to them and they were like so slow and sleazy and they just didn't respond. And I'm like, how can I trust these guys to actually deliver the right quality for the customers? That's when I finally found, months later, I found a kitchen that was willing to cook for me.
This was in Bahrain?
So yes, okay. This was in Bahrain. So I went back to Bahrain towards the end of the year.
Why did you decide Bahrain, by the way? You got customers over 3, right? You validated 3 cities. Why did you pick Bahrain?
Yeah.
It's important to know.
So I would have loved to start in Riyadh from the beginning. And I took that validation that I had from the MVP and I put it in a nice deck. And I went to the investors that knew me and I told them, guys, I want to raise $500,000 so I can like open a kitchen or like hire people, whatever it is, and launch this in Riyadh. Here's the validation. And they were like, okay, this sounds interesting. Ahmed, we like you, we trust you, but what the hell do you know about food, kitchens, and logistics? You know nothing about this. Like, how could, like, it's unlikely for you to be able to build a good product here and succeed. Like, this is out of your depth. Maybe try it in a small scale and then come back to us. And that was not what I wanted to hear, but it was fair. It was fair.
Would you have invested in yourself back then? Like, if you are the founder, coming first-time founder in this category, would you have?
Yeah, I think I would have.
Okay. Why?
I think I would have. Today I invest and I bet on character.
Nice.
Okay. Yeah, like a lot of people walking into a lot of industries and categories and fields don't have the experience, but they have the right character. And I genuinely believe if the why is strong enough and the person wants it badly, doesn't matter. Like they can hire a couple of consultants, stumble over like a few months, but they figure it out eventually.
And you were that convincing. I wasn't there, so that's why I'm asking. Like, you would have, you were convincing enough, nagging enough, showing character enough for these investors, but they still they wanted to see it on paper. Maybe they wouldn't be as. I
don't know. Maybe I wasn't. I don't really know. To be fair, I wasn't also super like bullish and convinced, and I had just burnt my fingers or my hands telling people, "Hey, I'm gonna make you a lot of money," and I left that company feeling a sense of shame that, holy shit, like I just took people's money and like a couple of years later, I failed. I failed in delivering what I thought I can deliver. Most of those investors that I was talking to had invested in my last company. So like
Yes. You can be confident.
The reality is I didn't know.
Yes, I understand what you mean.
Yeah. And keep in mind, by the way, like I wasn't like on top of the world at that period of time. It was exploration phases are very difficult because they're filled with existential angst of like, what am I doing? is this idea even a good idea? Does anyone even want this? I keep going back and forth on this and a couple other ideas, like what's going on? Like it's really tough. It's really tough, especially when you meet, friends or people you haven't seen in a while, and they're like, oh, so what are you up to now? And every other day you're up to a different idea, or you don't even know. You're like, oh, well, I'm working on like 6 different ideas and exploring them. So it's really difficult. Like I had a friend, a close friend, who was practically a part-time therapist, because like I would go to him one day and I'd be like, this is the best idea, this is the shit, this is gonna change the world. And in a week I'd be like, dude, this is not gonna work.
This is the next one though.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, I guess that's the energy most founders like you have that in you. If this is not what keeps you up at night and you're up, early trying to solve for, you always have like something. And I think this is how great things get created. It has to start with, these kind of situations. Cool, man. So then let's just try to, because there's a lot about Calo, man. There's really a lot. I love Calo. There's a lot of stories. I just want to try to really bring value to everyone who's listening to us. Moving on this. Initial phases, cool. Then you went to try to prove the model. Then since you couldn't fundraise quickly, right? How quickly were you able to prove to raise? Like, let's talk maybe about this phase.
So I had some money left in savings. I was doing consulting on the side to stay afloat, but like the clock was ticking. Like my runway was about to end. So like it was around that period where if I had run out of money, if that one last bet didn't work, then that would have been rough. So, and keep in mind, like the period of time, like I went against my family, and then I dropped out eventually, and I failed at my last startup, at least in my book. Still up and running, by the way, but like in my book, like I failed at the mission that I had for myself for that business. And then I took money from these investors, and now I've been exploring for a year, and I'm about to run out of money. So it was really tough. But anyway, I had a bit left, and I was able to like take one more shot, and I kept going back to this food idea, to this food tech idea, to this meal subscription idea. There was something there. Like I loved it. Something about it spoke to me. Eventually, I cracked the model. Where I found a kitchen that was willing to cook for me. They were also like kind of clueless. Like they had just started this big catering kitchen, but they also wanted to rent kitchen spaces, but they also they heard about this cloud kitchen thing. So they're like, oh, we also do cloud kitchen. Because no one in their right mind would have given me any attention, but they had excess capacity and they didn't really know what they were doing. So, I mean, it was a match made in heaven. 2 people not knowing what the hell they're doing. And basically, I spoke to them. I put on like my confident attire, and I was like, "Yeah, I've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars in digital marketing. I can get this to work, and I know how to get customers. I just need you guys to cook for me." And they bought it. They were like, "Okay, we'll cook for you." They were like, "We can rent you a kitchen space, or we can cook for you and take a margin." And at the time, I was still in the headspace of, I just need to test this concept because I don't even know if it's going to work. Like, sure, I have an early sign, but I don't really know once people get the food, are they going to come back and renew? I don't know. I don't know if it's going to work. So I was like, cook for me. I want nothing to do with it. And like, take the whole margin. I don't even want to make any money. Yeah, it's like, even if I make 0 on every single meal for the beginning, even if I pay a bit extra on every meal just to test it for a few weeks, because I knew if it worked, I can optimize later. I can fix the cost, I can negotiate, I can figure it out later, but I don't know if it's going to work. So yeah, they agreed to cook for me, and I found someone that was willing to deliver. At the time, I had convinced an engineer from my last startup. He wanted to leave, actually, so he left. And then we were talking, and I was like, listen, I'm building a couple of things. I have no idea they're going to work. But since you don't have anything going on now, like, what about you join and you take a risk and you take a bet and you come, work with me on these couple of ideas. He almost said no, but he eventually said yes. And we built a couple of things together. Like he was like my full-time right-hand man when it comes to like experimenting with concepts. And this was one of them. Oh, by the way, like one of the other things we tried was like a coffee subscription app. Like I was fascinated with cold brew at the time, cold brew coffee. And you know how there's this concept of like, back in the day, there was this concept of like the milkman, where someone would drop a bottle of milk at your doorstep every day. So we did the same thing for coffee and called it Coffee Man. And we had a few subscribers. We had people who like every day or every few days would deliver like a 1 liter bottle of cold brew coffee to their doorstep. It was a fun concept. So we actually repurposed parts of that MVP to do the meal subscription concept, because it's a subscription concept as well. And yeah, long story short, we started with friends and family. I was like, okay, I was reading a lot of case studies about go-to-market, GTM, go-to-market strategies for startups. One strategy that I liked was the invitation-only approach. And I decided to go with it for two reasons. What that means is you can't use the product unless you have an invitation. Mm-hmm. The two reasons were, one, I had no idea what I was doing. I didn't know the capacity of the kitchen. I didn't know if the quality of the food's going to be any good. I don't want to embarrass myself too much. So I decided to only embarrass myself with my friends and family. And the second thing is it creates the sense of like FOMO, because you can't have it. And potentially if it works, people, would feel that hype and want it even more.
They'll find the way to get the invite. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. So we put together a website in like a couple of weeks that barely works. It had a sign up button, but not a sign in button.
Who cares?
So if you were to sign up, yeah, if you were to sign up and you got logged out for some reason, you're out of luck. Like you can't sign in.
If you're not a new customer, we don't care.
Yeah, terrible retention. But like we wanted to move fast, so you set a date and you just get going. Yes. And November 3rd, 2019 was the first day. I had 7 customers, me, my sister, and 5 friends. Yeah, people, I've just sent them the like invitation on WhatsApp, and they were kind enough to subscribe. One of them even subscribed by accident. He was like, I was just trying the website and then it took money. So I guess, okay, I'll try it. Yeah. But then what was fascinating is, so I invested in the branding and the packaging. And like the brand name also, like I liked it. It was like short, memorable.
Like the name, short, sweet, you got the .com now. Also, like, it's just really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, what was fascinating is the day when the deliveries happened, November 3rd, 2019, because I invested in the packaging and the branding, and it looked nice and was this new cool thing, and people felt like, oh, only I have this and it's exclusive. Every one of the 7 people, myself included, surprise, surprise, posted about it on social media, on Instagram. And I was checking, we were using Firebase at the time. I was refreshing the database on Firebase every few minutes. And I realized that by the end of the first day, 200 people have went onto the Instagram account, clicked on the website link, and signed up their email to be on the waiting list.
First day, 200, really?
First day,
oh God.
200 people. And I was like, okay, there's something here. And the feedback on the food was also very positive. By the way, I was putting the recipes online, and I was going to the kitchen every night and doing like the macro counting and the calorie counting myself. Like literally, I still have notes from those days where the chef is like, okay, this meal. And I'm like, okay, put this much chicken, put this much whatever. And I'd literally be calculating it on the spot. So it's very, very raw, very rough. Like it looked nice and interesting and fancy from the outside. Like I remember one of our first teammates when we were in the office, and when we get a notification of a new customer, like this is like the 3rd, 4th week, I would be so like anxious and excited, but also scared. I'd be like, how are they paying us? Like, don't they realize like we're just a couple of people who don't know what we're doing, or just like we don't even have a kitchen, like we're outsourcing the. But people didn't see that. People saw what was on the outside, and when they spoke to us, when they dealt with us, I was answering every single customer service message myself on the spot. Like, you message us 7 a.m. in the morning, 11 p.m. at night, you get an answer within a couple of minutes. That was the journey. That's how we started.
So this is how it started. You really got, let's say, really fast validation. That is really good, man. 7 people posting, 200 signups out of that. I don't know if some of them like are influencers, but like it's really interesting. And for anyone listening, like this is rare, but
none
also
of them were influencers.
Yeah. So this is rare, and when it happens, like product market fit signs, right? Screaming.
Yeah.
Okay, and this is Bahrain again.
Yeah.
Also, that's a small market. Let's say also.
Absolutely.
200.
Yeah.
And then there's like, okay, cool. Fast forward to what had to do. Did you hire? Did you raise first? Just like, okay, when were you nicely set up to start executing really?
Yeah. So meanwhile, in the background, I'm talking to a couple of investors, and I'm just sending updates every day, especially those who showed interest, those who are interested in super early stage. And both of them, like there were two that were interested at that stage, and they knew me. They both had invested in my last startup. So there was a bit of trust, and they knew that like if I put my mind onto something, I get it done, I guess, but it's still very risky because like I just lost them a bit of money in the last company. And
is this an important advice? Ahmed, sorry to interrupt you, man. Is this an important advice, which is like, maybe you failed your investor first or whatever, but like, is it important to keep consistently showing them what you're up to, what you're doing, so that they see you, to really get to know you? They meet a lot of founders, they meet a lot of people, failed or winners or whatever. Has it been important for you to like maintain that persistence, so they see this guy is serious, this guy I would not bet against, this guy is like, he's onto something? How did you able to manipulate that, or like to prove it?
yeah, so I think it happened more organically for me. I'm not a great networker, to be very honest. Like, I obsess over building and customers, and that's usually my focus. Some founders are a lot better than I am when it comes to like building relationships and like, keeping up with investors and getting to know if a new investor in town starts a new fund and things like that. You can't fake those things. So I don't. To me, I never built that long of a pipeline or a relationship just in case I want to raise in the future. Both of those happened organically. So I reached out to a lot of investors, but those are the ones that continued showing interest. It happened organically. So what I mean by that is, I was working in a co-working space, and one of those investors, Hassan Haider, let's give him a shout out. He was with 500 startups at the time. Now he has a Plus VC. We were just catching up every now and then. He was kind enough to keep tabs and just like ask me how things are going and showing interest in what I'm building, and and going like, oh, this is an interesting concept. Oh, I've seen these guys do this, and so that actually was helpful for me early on. So we kept catching up every now and then. And then there were also a group of 3 gentlemen from Vision Ventures that I also kept in touch with organically. They showed interest in what I was building in the exploration phase, but they needed help with a program. They had a growth stage program, and they wanted me to help a couple of startups there with growth advice. So I was hanging out with them. I was working with them on that thing, and we were chatting and exchanging ideas. And they also showed a lot of support, and like they interesting, but they told me, if you do this other idea, we'll invest. But they weren't very sure about the food idea initially, because they were like, again, what do you know about food? But then I invited them once we had some operation going on. I think the second week I invited them over to the kitchen. I had them try the meals. Their immediate feedback was, it needs more salt. But I think they've seen enough to basically realize that, okay, there's something here, still very uncertain, but at least he got something up and running. He has customers. They're paying him. They are getting food. The food is decent. So they took a bet, and to give them credit, like on that bet they probably made close to 100x now, but to give them credit, that could have gone to zero, and they took a big risk at the time. So yeah, very grateful for both of them, Hassan Haider, Qais Al Isa, and Haytham Abu Aisha and Muhammad Al Zuhdi, just to give them shout outs so that they don't they give me a hard time for not giving them enough credit usually. No, but they were awesome. They were very supportive, and they doubled down. They invested multiple times later. So again, the answer is I did not go out of my way to keep in touch with them. Probably I should have, but with these two investors, it happened organically. And I was having conversations with other investors that were interested, but once I prove it a bit further.
Yeah. If someone is raising, they need to know like not everyone will be interested immediately. There is a process. People need to see you. People need to see. Like, they take notes. Investors are looking at you, taking notes. How you send your
100%.
email. How do you react? How do you behave?
Yeah.
Do you own your word? Okay. Interesting.
100%. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. Talk to as many people as you can. That's probably not great advice actually, but when you're starting out, everything is a learning experience. So you're absolutely right. When you talk to an investor, even when you're not ready, even when they're not ready, or you're not the right fit for them, something is happening. Like you're building a relationship, and they might tell you, "I don't believe in this," and then a year or two down the line, you prove them wrong, and they would be like, "I'm happy you proved me wrong. Let's talk now," because now you're at the stage where you've proved the concept and so on. So definitely, I think talking to people is most of the time it helps more than it hurts.
I'd like to look at every startup and look at odd things that they do differently. So luckily, you're able to raise and then really grow Calo, start hiring people, etc. What I know, because again, we worked together a few years ago, and you started young, so you're, let's say, a youngish founder versus, let's say, the average successful founder, which is 40 years maybe or something. But you start much earlier, which is great and good for you. How do you deal with hiring people more senior than you, older, or just more senior, etc., when you're also a new founder who's just getting started, imposter syndrome all the way, everything that you want to name?
Oh man, I struggled with this. I didn't know what imposter syndrome was until it was too late, maybe, or until I've gone through it for some time. Yeah, so listen, we're in a culture where we were raised on respecting people who are older than you. Literally the Arabic saying, I'll translate it in a second, أكبر منك بيوم أفهم منك بسنة. Older than you by a day, wiser than you by a year. And that's like just, it gets programmed in your head where at some point, like talking to candidates who are like 20 years older than you, it feels wrong. Like there's something about it that it's like, I know this thing better than this person does, or just because of my position, I need to challenge this person on this thing, or give them a hard time for it, or like work with them on it. But I just feel like something is off. Like, how could I? Like, they're older than me. Like, it feels almost morally wrong. At least that's how I felt. So for a long time, I really struggled with this. And what happens is that you start avoiding working with these people. And that's very negative as well, because sometimes you need to bring in that experience into the table. And these are like great people all the time. You need their experience. You need their know-how and so on. So what I realized is I started avoiding working with them. I started avoiding dealing with them. I would like give up on them too soon instead of giving them feedback, because I feel uncomfortable giving them feedback. And then with time and with like friction, with a few honest conversations and some feedback and coaching and so on, I say it quickly, but like a lot of work has gone into it. I finally realized, like, you know what? Like, sure, I realize I have an insecurity with my age. And the reason why I have an insecurity is because maybe culturally we don't take people who are young very seriously. And I mean, in my first business, I was laughed out of a meeting at some point because I was too young, and like I hated that, because it's like, don't talk to me about my age. Talk to me about, can I deliver, or So yeah, it took some time. Coaching helped. So I worked with an executive coach, and I was complaining to him about like how this person does this and does that, and then he'd be like, so did you talk to him? And I'm like, I tried, but and then he did this, and he was like, so did you tell him that? I'm like, no, but and I'd be like, well, I don't know what he wants, and he'd be like, did you ask him? So I realized that, why am I complaining? Like, if I need to do something, I should just go and do it. And I had to reprogram myself in a sense, and also have these open conversations and go like, listen, I'm a lot younger than you are, but I don't want this to get in the way. I want to win. I care about winning. I want to get to the goal. I want to achieve the goal. And it is unhealthy for me and for us and for the business that we get age to be in the way. Are you okay with this? Are you comfortable with me being younger than you and telling you this is what needs to happen? Mm-hmm. And I was blessed to have people who, for the most part, reciprocated the vulnerability and were like, actually, like, you think of it as a bad thing and as an insecurity. I find it inspiring. I find it nice. I find it great. And maybe there were people who didn't deal well with it and didn't want to deal well. And I totally respect that. Like, I don't know if I would work well with someone who is much younger than me. I'd like to think that I would have the maturity to treat them as a human, regardless of their age. And if they have because there are younger people who are much smarter than I am, much better than I am in different fields. And if I care about winning, why do I care about someone's age?
Yeah.
So anyway, it's been an interesting, a difficult thing to kind of wrap my head around, but eventually I did. And today, I don't care.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care if you're 60 years old and you're getting in the way, you're out. If you're 60 years old and you are all in, we're best buddies. So it doesn't matter to me anymore, but it did for a while, and with some coaching and feedback and open conversations, I managed to grow out of that insecurity, because I was like, this insecurity is not really helping me. Like, it's crippling me. It's hindering my ability to build relationships. If I want to build one of the best companies in the world in this domain, then I need to bring on board some of the best talent in the world in this domain. And it just so happens that you need
the experience.
Age and experience are correlated. You can't have the experience without the age. Yeah.
Yes. But also, like, to recap, I also think, like, you ended up doing your kind of own advantage, because that's what you don't believe in. You don't believe that age is the predictor, right? It's very merit based. So I think also what happened is, like, you ended up saying, you know what, I'm gonna follow my own advice. Age doesn't matter, not on me and not on anyone older or younger than me. We're just gonna run it without the age, which I guess it's a very professional way to deal with it in general. Like, do you ever treat someone in general who's a bit older or younger than someone else based on that? Like, I would never differentiate. Like, it's just pure skills and what you bring to the table.
I think it's less about age and more about experience, but again, they are correlated.
Yeah.
So I love to take bets on young and hungry talent. And sometimes their lack of experience is a very positive thing, because they haven't developed these neural networks of predefined rules and pre-made decisions. And they're very fresh. They're very malleable. They question everything. They think from first principles. And you can maintain that even when you're 40 or 50 or 60, but it's very hard to do so, because most companies don't operate that way. Most companies don't reward that type of thinking. So yeah, I mean, there are some roles where a younger candidate might make more sense, and other roles where an older candidate might make more sense. There's no right or wrong.
I agree 100%. And in general, like, for whoever is listening, are you currently hiring? Do you have, like, key positions? Do you have key roles that are very exciting? You want to just mention what they are, and, like, maybe a way to get in touch via your website or something for someone to apply, just in case someone is interested and, like, likes what they're hearing?
We're always hiring. Mm-hmm. So I believe that business is a sport. It's a mental sport. The sport is about solving customer problems. The bigger the problem you solve, the more people you solve it for, the bigger your business is, the more you win. The scoreboard is revenues and profits. And we are a growth business, which means we're always finding the next challenge and going towards it, which means we always have opportunities. So the answer is yes, we're hiring. We're always hiring. You can go to calo.jobs to find out more about the team, the culture, and as well as the current active roles. We're in a transitioning phase now where we have a lot of exciting roles. Like maybe some of them might not even be listed yet, but like we're in the process of like rolling them out gradually, depending on our capacity. Yeah, like it depends on when someone's listening to this. So we have GM roles to own different markets. We have a couple of GM or EIR, entrepreneur residence roles that are in the pipeline, soon to be published.
For new products?
To own different, to own different new business verticals. So Calo today is 98% meal subscriptions, but we are expanding into like a few other business lines and verticals. Some of them are tested, some of them we're yet to test, but we have strong conviction about a lot of them. And each of those will end up having a separate owner because they're like big. They have maybe a different operating model or different, sometimes even customer base, but like they're all within the same mission of making healthy easy.
Yeah.
So yeah, Calo jobs, you'll find a few there.
Awesome. And on that note also, what about like, we're in the space, we also like, as part of growth levers, we also recruit and we hire, etc. And sometimes we talk with people and like with candidates, etc. And like, there's some very nice tone when it comes to Calo's employer branding. Like, there are a few companies, obviously, Calo is really one of them, where there's a nice employer branding going on. You see people actually happy, like people really look happy and believing in whatever you guys are doing. What do you do differently, man?
We fake it really well. No, I'm kidding. Yeah. So since this wasn't my first rodeo, culture was important from day one. I knew who I wanted to work with and who I didn't want to work with when it comes to values or maybe the way people operate. So I was intentional about culture from day one. That being said, I cannot take credit for the employer branding and all the good stuff that the team has worked on. We have an awesome team that works on creating such content, and they're just telling the stories that actually happen. So I think step number one, create a good culture. Step number two, share
But what
stuff
is good
from
culture?
that culture.
What is good culture? Because everyone thinks they have a good culture.
Yeah, it's so broad. It's one of those things like, what's a good brand? A good brand is not a good logo.
Yeah.
A good brand is a collection of things, because what you do is who you are, not what you say, not how your logo shows and how it's designed.
Correct.
I think actually culture and brand have a lot in common. If anything, they might be two faces for the same coin.
I 100% agree, man. A lot. Because they're driven by values, both of them.
There you go. Yeah. So culture is like a mix of reputation, as well as operating models on a value level, like how we make decisions. Because if I was to make a decision today that goes against our values, then that just ruins it. And the moment you ruin it, there's no coming back. Like, it's really hard to, if you say, I value honesty and integrity, and you go one day and communicate a lie to customers to save money or to get yourself out of trouble, then you have just lost karma points. You just lost respect with all of your team because they're watching. So it's culture is about what you do, not about what you say. And the reason why it's so valuable is because, again, like the sport analogy, like really helps when it comes to, for me, thinking about business. Culture is how your team makes decisions when you're not in the room. So Yeah, I mean, it sounds like for someone who might not be close to this world, it might sound like I'm being wishy-washy and saying like really fancy things that are like corporate jargon. But very simply, like narrowing it down into layman's terms, like very simple terms. If you're one person in the company, if you're just the founder, how you operate, how you talk to customers, how you talk to suppliers, how you conduct yourself, how you conduct your business, how you dress up when you go and meet someone for a meeting, all of these things are an indication of who you are. But mostly it's your actions. And this is why like mostly company cultures originally stem from the founders or the founding team. So when you expand yourself into a team and you have like one person or 10 people, if those people behave differently than how you behave, then that sends mixed signals, and that makes the culture not really well established. But if you're very honest and you hire someone who's slightly less honest than you, or if you value growth, so you're like, you know what, I made $1,000 this month in profit. Instead of pocketing it in, I'm going to invest it in more growth. But you bring on board a partner in the business that is not very obsessed about growth or doesn't value growth. They're going to be like, Habibi, what are you talking about? Invest 200, give me 800, let's split it. Very simple example, extends and expands everywhere. Because if you value growth, then you're going to spend your free time learning and reading and talking to people and figuring out how can I get to the next stage. If you don't value growth as much, you're going to relax, go spend that money and so on. So it's what do you value?
I thought that
The
the other person is a bad person. It's just like they really have a different North Star. Like they're elsewhere. They're just like, well, like that's it.
Absolutely.
Just want to be comfortable. What can we do to be comfortable? And you're like, what can we do to double down, like to really double the numbers next month? They're just driven very differently. Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. There's nothing wrong with not wanting to grow or valuing something else. That's fine. Like to each their own. But if you are on the same boat and you value something and the other person values something else, and you're rowing in different directions, that's disaster.
Yep. And you should be aware and should know what it really will mean eventually.
I think it was the founder of Airbnb, Brian Chesky, that said something like, when you're about to hire someone, ask yourself, would you want to work in a company with 100 people like this person? Because that's what happens when you bring one person on board that operates in a certain way, that values certain things. They're going to bring people that operate like them and think like them. So it's very important to kind of be intentional about this. And by the way, I want to add something here. When people ask and talk about company culture, they often mean how people feel when they're working in the company and how nice everyone is to each other and things like that. The free snacks and like the work from home type of thing. This is not culture. These are perks, or these are like maybe an operating model. I think these are also important. It's about, do you care about people? At the end of the day, business is a team sport. So you can't have a business without people. So if you care about those people, you would do certain things to make sure that they. And actually, let me give you another angle. Let's say caring about people is not the main driver. It's caring about business. It's caring about winning. I care about winning in business. And to me, because I know that a business is a team sport, in order for me to win in business, I have to have the best players. Okay, what do the best players want? Well, they want a clear direction. They want to be treated well, and they want to be compensated fairly, and they want they want growth. They want to grow. They want to challenge themselves and so on. And you can go on with the list. So if I'm optimizing to win in business, then I need to bring the best players, the best athletes, and I need to take care of them. And taking care of them is not having stupid rules Why do I care if you're wearing a tie or wearing shorts? If you're getting the job done, if you're scoring, if you're defending, if you're passing, then that's all I care
Your
about.
job is to remove more obstacles.
So
Like you want to remove more obstacles from their way so they can keep on scoring.
exactly. Yeah. So most people don't think of those things as culture, or when they think of culture and all the nice things on the outside, they don't think of the things on the inside. In reality, at the core of it, the reason why I like to build good places to work is because I like to win. Like I want to win in business. To win in business, I need to hire the best people, and to keep the best people, I need to take good care of them. So it's not coming from, oh, I care about these people and we're one big family. And there's something to that, because when you work with someone like 8+ hours a day for like years, you develop a certain level of affinity to them. But the goal is not to build relationships and build friendships. The goal is to win.
Awesome. Okay, so we talked about culture. I want to ask you another question, because I'm seeing you more and more active on LinkedIn. At least I'm more active on LinkedIn myself. Will you be more active, first of all? Second, like I could pre-roll later some of the posts that did really well. I would comment on one of them, which is when you really document these cool key moments in Calo. And I'm gonna like just say 2 out of like the many that I know of, at least. One was when you launched Saudi, and like it was a picture of like just the initial deliveries, and this really resonated a lot of people. First of all, I really ask you nicely, kindly, to try to share more of these stories. Not just like the inspiration part, but like really, this was 2 years ago. Really, this was Ahmed 2 years ago in this van, and this thing really happens. And this is how, right? And try to like document it. So this was one of the moments. The other moment was, which is someone was leaving there, like someone was changing address, like they wanted to cancel, like no worries, we'll just shift everything. We're gonna organize everything for you, don't worry. Like you do the opposite of what people would think is like, oh, they're gonna charge me more, or I'm gonna lose my order, and just go surprise them with the extra. I don't want to talk. I want you to please tell us of why this is so nice in Calo. It's really interesting. It's one of the only brands who does it like that in MENA, at least. And why I want to find more stories like that, first for the entrepreneurs to understand how important it is to care and to give a shit about your customers, but also for brands to give a shit more about us, because I don't think all the brands do it well, you know, and I can name plenty. But yes, please tell us more about that, and what's the plan here, and how can you make it bigger?
Yeah. So I mentioned earlier that I was responding to every single customer when we started. Mm-hmm. I was the company's first customer experience specialist, and I was doing it for probably a few months before I managed to hand it over. Mm-hmm. I loved it. I enjoyed it. It was a lot of work, but it made me get close to customers. You asked why we do it. I'd like to ask you, why wouldn't we do it? Like, how does it make sense to not obsess over the people who are giving you their hard-earned money and trusting you with it and rewarding you for your work? How can you not obsess over them? Because they're your bosses. Like, my boss is the customer. If the customer chooses not to give me their money because they don't trust me anymore, then I don't have food on the table anymore. So most people don't see it that abstractly, but that's how it is essentially. Like, I exist as a business to serve a customer and solve their problem. So how does it make sense for me not to like obsess over them? But it's basically, I mean, you can do the bare minimum, which is respond to them when they have a problem, and that's fine too. You would have done your job then. It's just a choice, I think, that we choose to go above and beyond, because I just think it's fun. I think it's great. Like, I think it creates for amazing moments. Like, the team loves doing it. Imagine like you're in a shift doing customer service, and it's a long day, and someone comes to you and they have a problem, or they're annoyed, or they're bothered, they had a bad day, or they're happy, or whatever it is, and you manage to do something that makes them happier. Like, imagine how awesome does that feel? We feel good. Yeah. We feel better when we serve others or help others. Happiness is contagious. So it's probably like our best retention hack for our team. It's because they love doing it, and like, why wouldn't you do it? Like, everyone's happy in the equation. And numbers wise, it makes sense. Like, if anything, numbers wise, I want us to do more of it. The reason why I say this is because when you do nice things for people, when you do good things for people, they talk about it and they remember it. It's like, what's the saying? I don't remember what you say, I remember how you make me feel, something like that. So if you make people feel those positive emotions, because we genuinely, we should love our customers and we should care about them, because I woke up today, I had no food on my table, and my customer put the food on my table. And it's a beautiful concept of servitude that I think runs in our evolution of like, I serve you, you serve me, and it's like the exchange of labor.
Trust.
It's, I don't know, there's something about it. And I'm a customer in many different contexts. Wouldn't I love to be treated a little bit extra special every now and then? Of course I would. The reality is the bar is too low. The bar is too low, not just in the region, but globally. And I think more and more companies should try to do better here. And I don't want to like, you know, I don't want to claim that we've invented this. We're very inspired by Zappos. Zappos is an e-commerce company that, yeah, they pioneered going above and beyond with service. And it was driven initially by the founder, Tony Hsieh, may he rest in peace. And then it was carried on by the rest of the team. And we give a lot of the delivering happiness books, we give copies to our team members. And we find it to be inspiring. And like, I think more companies should do it. I invite more companies to do it. I think I would like to be treated like this more often as a customer. So it makes sense in many directions. It makes sense for your team. It makes sense for your customers. It makes sense because that word of mouth is considered to be free marketing, and a genuine free marketing, which is like nothing you can't buy that with money. And it's not just about the gifts, by the way. It's about that spending that extra minute with customers. It's about, you know, we hear a story of someone who stayed for 1 hour or 2 hours on the phone with a customer, and instead of going, what the hell, like this is, because that's how most companies would treat this, and they'd be like, why would you? Like, that's such a waste. I'm paying you this much per hour. Like, you spend. When we hear that story, we're like, oh my God, amazing. Tell us more. What do you guys talk about?
Yeah. Awesome, man. I honestly second that, and I really like. I think it just makes sense for all possible reasons, as you said, all the reasons you listed, which makes business sense, and also it's the right thing to do, right? Like, you have a chance to to impress your customer, or to really win them back, or like to, you know, show up nicely. I agree. I hope more do it. Who has a nice brand in the region that you, especially that you are into, you know, building these good experiences and brands? Like, is there someone you like? Anyone like shout out, or like someone you really are impressed with, or like you just like, they're interesting, they're funny? Someone in the region who's building.
You're putting me on the spot here. Well, there are so many brands that are popping up and doing cool things, but are you referring to like service, or
could be anything,
cool brand?
like someone who, like, you feel they echo how Calo treats their customers, or like how original they are when it comes to customer service, great experience, etc. Things you obsess about a lot and in your product.
Yeah. Well, in the region, nothing comes to mind, but I really hope that I see more of it. And I think like what we're doing is not rocket science. Other companies can do it. I'd love for other companies to do it. Like, copy us, do it better than we're doing it. Today, I don't have that experience as a customer anywhere else.
Okay, cool. Do you think LinkedIn would be an interesting channel for you, like specifically to really at scale, like talk about Calo and actually even acquire customers? Because when, like, if you really amass, like as a channel, do you consider it to be a good market channel?
So I never looked at it that way historically, and I didn't, like, all the posting I've done recently was not for that intention. But I definitely think it would be, now that I have a better understanding of who our customer is. I genuinely think, yes, LinkedIn is one of the best places to do that. The reason why is because people who eat healthy are athletes of mental sports, and sometimes physical sports as well. What I mean by this is, if you're investing in yourself and you're eating healthier, you're eating better, you're doing the harder thing already. You're doing the difficult thing that is better for you. You're investing in your self-development. You're investing in your self-growth. You're investing in your health. Those people also tend to be usually career-oriented or just obsessed with growth and development and so on. And LinkedIn happens to be the platform of choice for those weirdos. Those people who are interested in self-development and career are generally on LinkedIn. So yeah.
Yep. Well, I hope in the future, like one way or another, you could, as Calo or someone from there, etc., like lead that in terms of presence. I've been seeing it like even for small B2C tickets, etc., like you could really build, you know, a really good audience there and monetize it easily. So yeah, I hope, and especially if you have interesting things to share at Calo, like just what's going on, you have a big scale to cover. By the way, out of interest, like ballpark, how many people per day you guys feed today? Like how many, you know, full meals you send per day? Almost, or like wherever you're comfortable sharing, of course.
Tens of thousands.
Okay, daily, tens of thousands. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, on that note, I wanted to talk with you a little bit more about like what happened in Saudi, because this was the period where we stopped working together, but also we saw something really interesting. I don't know if you recall the details of the story, but like we launched in Saudi in an interesting way, and it worked well, and it created again a very interesting like viral loop. I don't know. You tell me more what happened in Saudi, if you still recall, and like maybe a little of the details of how you were able to launch in a second market and do it so well.
Yeah. Amazing. Yeah, so we doubled down more on the invitation-only approach. So when we launched an MVP, again, we launched without a sign-in button, so the product wasn't very developed back then. But now, this time around, we had product market fit from Bahrain, our first market, and we had built out our team, so we had a bit more capacity to build, you know, products and build, more features and so on. And yeah, we decided to launch also on an invitation-only basis in Saudi for two reasons. We were in Riyadh initially for two reasons. The first reason was, once again, we had no idea what we were doing. We had a bit more of an idea what we were doing than the first time, but it's a new operation, it's a new team. It's physically the operational team on the ground was a new team. It's a new country, new regulations, so many things that we aren't sure about. And I wanted us to be biased to action and move very quickly to launch. So launch before you're ready. That's one of my principles. And because you can always find reasons to delay another day, to do an extra thing. But that's the thing. Launch should not be comfortable. And I don't subscribe to the idea of like having a big launch where you invite a bunch of people, and because like that means you launched too late. You prepared a lot. You had, but if you're launching a traditional business, maybe that's fine. But if you're launching a concept that has a bit of uncertainty on how well can it do, you're solving a problem. There's a bit of innovation, because we didn't know. Like at that time, we worked well in Bahrain. There was a chance we would have flopped in Saudi. Who knows? So we wanted to launch as soon as possible. The second reason was same thing. We were thinking and hoping maybe like it generates more attention, or if you can't have it, then there's a bit of FOMO. So it was definitely baked into it. This time we developed the product further, and we launched with 3 people this time. I was in the kitchen. It was really tough at the time because it was the COVID days, and movement of people was really difficult, like cross borders. So maybe a bit of a backstory, because I think that adds context to the pressure that we had to make sure the Saudi launch was successful. We bet the company on Saudi. We were exploring different options to expand, whether to expand into Riyadh or to Dubai. And we wanted to expand to Riyadh because we believed that's the right market for us, and we wanted to launch there as soon as possible. Dubai is an amazing market as well, but Riyadh is a bigger one. But we didn't have enough money to launch in Riyadh. And one of the ways we expand is by acquiring a kitchen. So I did mention at the beginning, we started only as a tech company, but then a few months later, we moved into our own operation because we realized that when we're outsourcing, the quality drops and we can't really control it very well. So we took it in-house, and now we're vertically integrated. We own the kitchens, and we have like teams in every city that do the production, the cooking. So anyway, we were looking at kitchens to buy or to rent and to expand from. And we found 10 kitchens in Dubai, and we found 0 kitchens in Riyadh. And we were bummed, and we were talking to one of our investors, the guys from Vision Ventures, and we were telling them, guys, we're going to launch in Dubai. And they were like, no, you should launch in Saudi. And we're like, we want to, but like, find us a kitchen. So one of them got up, like we were having lunch. He got up, went and did a phone call and came back. He was like, okay, I found you a kitchen, 2,000 square meters, brand new, never operated, blah, blah, blah. And we were like, are you kidding? Like, we've been looking for months. It seems like, it turned out that he grew up with a gentleman whose family is in the business of like preparing kitchens and so on. And he connected us. Anyway, we go and see it. We're in love. We think this is the kitchen of the future for us. It's way too big for what we can afford, and yeah, and I mean, like, I just said that we're not sure if the market's going to work. Like, we need to launch small. I love the statement: think big, start small, scale fast. This was not starting small. This was starting big. So the kitchen was quite expensive. There was a price tag, like a few $1 million, and we didn't have that much money. We raised a couple of times, but they were smaller amounts. We still didn't have that much money in the bank. But we were really convinced that Riyadh is the right market, and like we were falling in love more and more with the kitchen because it was the perfect opportunity. Like, for context, it took 2 years to build and get all the regulations.
Wow.
So anyone that would have, if we wanted to build it, it would have taken us 2 years. So anyway, I call up Moayed, my co-founder, and I tell him, hey, listen, I have an idea. Let's buy the kitchen and offer them to pay them this much now. We can afford it. And we pay them this much in 6 months. And this much we pay them in stock and shares. Instead of paying them in cash, because we don't have the money. And his response was, after I explained it for a while, and he's like, you know what this means, right? And I said, what? And he said, if this doesn't work, game over. So the whole point was, we have 6 months to launch, get traction, and go raise money, go raise funding, so we can pay the rest. Right. So he said, like, there's no going back. And I'm like, let's do it. Yalla. So yeah, we did it. It was stressful. It was hard. To give him credit, he did most of the work in setting up the kitchen to get it to the point where we can launch. But he does not come from the school of thought of consumer startup, MVP, launch fast and dirty, move fast. He's like a very organized guy, like, gotta check all the boxes, make sure we're like, we have everything in place. Yeah. So I went and I was like, clock is ticking. I'm about to send an investor update for the quarter. I need to say we shipped our first meal in Riyadh. I don't care if I have to cook it myself and deliver it myself, I'll do it. And he was like, he must have thought I'm crazy. Like, it was a tough period when it comes to like the pressure that we had. But like, I wanted to get it out of the way. I wanted us to ship. So we managed to make it happen. We eventually did ship our first meal 10 days before the end of the quarter. And the first delivery, we had 3 customers. So we had more customers in Bahrain when we started. And the ramp up was slow, but once it picked up, the reason why it was slow is because we didn't share any invites. We were like hush hush because we were just like testing. But once it picked up, It really picked
Tell
up.
us here, because people don't know what
And
was happening here, like what kind of invite, how is it working, the mechanism, like.
yeah, so long story short, within 6 months, we had spent $0 on marketing and we had 10,000 people signing up on the waiting list. And for context, signing up on the waiting list meant you had to give us your name, number, email, and location pin so we can know where you are, so we can, when we start operating, we can deliver to you. People were sharing invites so quickly. So when you sign, let's say I give you an invite because you're a friend, or like initially start with friends and family. And if you sign up, you get 5 more invites and you can share them to people. When we did that, we started with 5, then we reduced it to 2, and we reduced it to 1. And then at some point, I think we might have had 0, but like people started sharing invites so fast and so much. Like we had people, random people we don't know. Some of them are like celebrities or influencers. I literally remember someone, we had like a comedian with like multi-million followers, reached out to us. He saw a van on the road. Imagine, didn't even hear about us. He saw a van on the road, and then he knew what was going on. He took a picture of the van and he messaged us on Instagram with his million followers, and he was like, "Guys, I want an invite code right now, please. I'll advertise. I'll do anything." And we gave him an invite code, and then he when he subscribed, he got a bunch more, and he shared them also to his audience. So it was going crazy. Like people, and so it wasn't just obviously the marketing campaign. It was, and there was no marketing. Like we were barely talking, but it was. This was the bar when we launched for meal subscriptions in Saudi, and this was the bar after we launched. Yeah. So the delta between the existing product in the market and what we offered was massive.
And was it gamified, by the way? Was the referred gamified, which is if you invite more, you'd bump into the waiting list, or like how was it just into the mechanism?
No.
Just simple.
Yeah, we didn't do that.
Okay.
Yeah.
But still, like
Yeah.
scarcity, like you have just a few invites, spend them wisely. Okay.
Yeah. So for context, like if you had an invite, you're supposed to be able to subscribe, but we were like scrambling to grow the capacity at some point because it was growing so fast that if you got an invite and we were at the peak, then even when you use the invite, we would say that, hey, listen, like we just really can't serve you. Like we're so full, we're going to put you on another waiting list of people who have invites. So like yeah. So imagine you're on a waiting list. You're number 7,500, and your cousin finally gives you a code, and you are like, finally, you go and subscribe, and they're like, hey, there's another waiting list. Sorry, we can't serve you yet. Don't worry, we'll serve you, but like now you're number 700 on the waiting list. So needless to say, it wasn't an amazing experience for everyone, but all in all, it worked out quite nicely.
For the launch, yeah, and like really getting into the community. Yeah. Interesting.
Yeah, like we saved. You could do the math and like say that we've saved a couple of $1 million in marketing.
Yeah. Well, nice.
Yeah.
Awesome, man. And then to close on that also, then you launched UAE, I guess, in a few other countries. I just want to touch on one thing, which I find fascinating. How many months it took you to launch in UAE? So like from the moment you launched in UAE, from 0 customers again, to be the first, like to be the biggest in terms of like serving as many customers. I think it wasn't a lot, and it's both funny and like sad at the same time, which is basically going back to the level of competition. But really, what was it? It's really important to benchmark of a new startup that comes and what they can do versus someone who's been there chilling, not taking things seriously, and what competition can do to you. It's really the message I want to share.
Yeah. So every market we launched in, we became the number 1 player within the first year, sometimes by far. Like in Saudi, we became 4 times bigger than the biggest player in a year. And imagine that player was around for 23 years. So yeah, they were around for 23 years, and we came in, new kids in town. We became 4 times bigger than them within the first year. And then we became much bigger later. There's an exception to this. Like we became the biggest in every single market minus Kuwait, and I think that's mostly a function of 2 things. The market is competitive. Kuwaitis are foodies and they love their food, and the food scene in Kuwait is like, in my opinion, like global. But that's not the main reason. I think the main reason is we were launching markets so fast, and we didn't have like a structure for market ownership where you have a GM managing the market, growing it, figuring out what the local market wants. So we just didn't focus on it. So like for context, 2020 we were in Bahrain, 2021 Riyadh, 2022 Eastern Province, Western Province in Saudi, each about 5-6 million population, Kuwait and UAE in 1 year. 2023 Qatar, and 2024. Stay tuned. Hopefully, we might open something exciting soon. But yeah, like we got so busy with the other markets, especially like when you have a market that's working extremely well, you end up not paying enough attention to another. But yeah, we're coming back. Like we're now setting up a really strong foundation in every market we're in when it comes to like a GM, a local marketing team, and so on. We believe in the potential of Kuwait and other markets as well. And you're right. Like the point you wanted to say is, people took the market for granted. People took the customer for granted. They were companies making millions per year, but they were comfortable.
Yeah.
They were like, okay, nice. Like we have our nice little paycheck towards the end of the year.
And what could happen? And also what could happen?
Yeah. Like let's but that experience was like, to me as a customer, was terrible. I tried them.
Yes.
I tried a lot of them. You have to like go to a clinic sometimes to sign up. They send you an A4 piece of paper and you have to like check box, like you have 2 or 3 options per day. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous. And then comes a player that says, excuse my French, fuck the rules. I'm going to do it in the best way possible for the customer. I'm the customer. What's best for me? I'll do that. And that changed the game. And you know, all of them are adapting now, or trying to adapt. Markets evolve eventually, and people are trying to, which is a good thing in my opinion. It's a positive thing. Like it's a good thing for the customer, but it's not about reacting, because for us it's in our DNA. And I think as like whoever's listening, like if you're launching a startup, like it should be in the DNA of the company, of the startup, to continuously optimize for innovation and growth. And one leads to the other, if you think of it. So most of these players were optimizing for profitability, which is not a bad thing. But if that's the only thing you're optimizing for, and like you're happy with your paycheck, and you're not really like moving the needle, there's no Kaizen involved, you're not improving the experience, eventually someone's going to beat you. Business is an extremely competitive sport. It's the most competitive sport in my opinion. Mark Cuban says this very well in his book, How to Win the Sport of Business. And he's like, the reason why I love business is, unlike basketball where people can beat you on the court, someone is out there is working and plotting 24/7 to kick your ass. I want to be clear that our goal was not to like beat anyone. Our goal was to serve the customer. But at the end of the day, customer is going to choose. This is why I love consumer businesses as well. The customer is always going to choose the company or the product that's doing it better, faster, cheaper. So if you can do what we're doing, what any business is doing in the consumer space, better, faster, cheaper, then you win. It's a simple equation. The equation is out there. But good luck, because I'm quite competitive.
Okay, Ahmed. So another question I had in mind is, I ask it for like again, founders who work really hard on themselves. I know you try to focus and like double down on things, and are very aggressive when you work. But like, tell me more. What keeps you going? How do you manage yourself to be good, to be a great player?
So what keeps me going and how I do that are maybe 2 different things, which you touched on both. What keeps me going, the way I understand this, is why do I keep pushing, or like why do I keep going to the next step, and what keeps me excited and things like that. I'm obsessed. Like I love the game. I love the ins and outs. I love the challenges, the winning, the failing. Sometimes it's the getting up from a failure. I'm obsessed. I think I found my calling, and I mentioned it towards the beginning, which is building high impact products that serve a lot of people. And I just got blessed with the industry or mission that allows me to do so much of that. Like every day, any innovation I make in the space, like by me, I mean like Calo, like myself and the team, it's making people's lives better, and it has positive impact on hopefully the world. So that's what keeps me going. And like I think we can build so much more within Calo. Like we can do so much more that is on the same theme of building high impact products that serve a lot of people, and it's literally like day one. So that's kind of what keeps me going. It's curiosity, it's the like desire to do more. It's the why not. It's why can't I do this? Why can't we become a global brand? Why can't we develop a product that's so good that I don't know, like it resolves a major health issue or makes the patients cope with it much better or improve their symptoms or whatever it is. Why can't we reverse diabetes? Why can't we end obesity? Like these are exciting big problems that if you go into a room and tell random people that I'm going to reverse diabetes, they're going to be like, you're stupid, because this is such a big challenge and it's impossible. And I'm nowhere there. Like we haven't even touched that field or that topic, and it might take us years, it might take us decades. The challenge might outlive us, but it's exciting. Like that, having a challenge and working towards solving it is exciting. And some people are crazy enough and weird enough to enjoy that as well, and those happen to be the ones that do really well at Calo. So yeah, that's what keeps me going. It's the curiosity, it's the excitement, it's the desire of doing something that actually matters. And I like to think big, and the stuff that we're working on, the stuff that we're doing might seem very basic and simple from the outside, but it takes a lot of complexity to actually like deliver millions of meals that are personalized, that are X, Y, and Z to customers. And we're upping the game, we're upping the complexity. We want to take it to the next level. We want to do bigger things, more difficult things. And we want to do it on a global scale. So it's hard, but that hardness, that challenge is just really exciting. It gives you a reason to wake up and like get to work, basically. So that's what keeps me going. How do I maybe keep up and try to be high performance? I guess is the second part of the question, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So I've only cracked this analogy of business as a sport relatively recently, like about a year ago, that it really hit me. Like I read Mark Cuban's book probably like 10 years ago when I started my journey, but like it really just only hit me recently when I started thinking of myself as an athlete. Like I was never like too much into any particular sport, so I never thought of myself as an athlete. But now I think, no, I'm an athlete of business because I'm obsessed and I want to improve and I want to get better and I want to, like, I find my weaknesses and I level up. And so one of the analogous pieces to business and sport is leagues. So I started out 10 years ago in the lowest league of business, right? And then I leveled up. Maybe now I'm in League 4, maybe League 3. I mean, probably I'm League 4 making my way to League 3. And then in a couple of years, few years, I might make my way to League 2. And I want to make my way to League 1. And I want to win in League 1. I want to win globally. Who are the companies in League 1? It's Nike, Apple, Porsche, whatever, all the brands that we love and we think super highly of, the most successful companies in their field. So I want to get there. To get there, you need to work really hard on yourself. You need to, like take care of your health. You need to optimize what you eat and how you move and how you work out to give you more mental energy and mental capacity and more focus. So, I mean, yeah, I've been like trying to optimize for that. Exercise helps a ton, but too much exercise trains you. So you need to like also, heal and recover very well. You need to have good nutrition.
How often do you eat calo?
Every single day, minus when I'm traveling and I search for convenience when I'm on the move. But now that we also have the retail experiment and we're dabbling with on demand, man, like I'm eating from Calo a lot more. Because when I travel, like sometimes I can't, I'm not always on a subscription. Sometimes I'm in and out for like a day or two, but that's when the retail and the on demand experience helps. Yeah, but every day, like today I ate 2 meals from Calo and like my third is in the fridge. Yeah, I love it. I told you, like I'm the ideal customer. And it's sometimes I question, do I eat it because I'm biased or I want to try and give feedback? But I genuinely, so I realize that I really trust the food. Like I know that it's not going to betray me with a drop in energy. I know the ingredients. Yeah, so, and I think we don't communicate that well enough, by the way. So we're trying to communicate more often how good the food really is. Like I realize also some people don't, we're going on a tangent, sorry, but some people want more of a flavor kick from their, whether it's saltiness or sweetness or whatever it is. And that makes sense because mostly we're used to those types of foods from like fast food or different places. But what you realize is you can actually make food addictive if you have enough sugar and salt and whatever it is. You can make food addictive. And when you don't get that hit anymore, when you actually get a meal that is made with balanced, natural, good ingredients that are not like extreme in saltiness or sweetness or whatever, it doesn't hit the spot anymore. I think of fast food places as more of drugstores now than they are food, establishments, because like when you eat that meal, like your serotonin receptors are
through the roof.
Yeah. Where were we? Like I feel like we jumped. You were asking me about, okay, so how do I maintain high performance? Exercise, I eat well. I had a tough gut issue for a few years that I'm finally like I made a lot of progress on, still there at 10-20%, but man, like that was a tough one to and I still don't fully understand what it is, and I'm very curious to. I think over the next few years we'll get better at understanding it. It was some sort of like bacterial or fungal overgrowth. So all of us have trillions of bacteria and lots of yeasts and other living organisms in our guts. Sometimes they go out of balance. So you have good guys and bad guys, and they keep each other in check. Sometimes if the bad guys take over and the good guys die, and it happens because of lifestyle, lack of sleep, stress, antibiotics, a few things like that, because antibiotics kill the good and the bad alike. Then the bad bacteria takes over and they start releasing toxins, and they take over, they eat your nutrients before you digest them, and so many negative things happen, and that affects a lot of things. There's this quote from 2,500 years ago, which is, all disease begins in the gut. It's by Hip something, I forgot. Anyway. And it seems like we're finding out more and more that there's a lot of truth to that. But yeah, I exercise, I eat well, I eat lots of protein. I try to meditate. There are a few healthy habits that I'm trying to embed. I try to sleep very well, as much as possible. I don't know. Ask me more questions.
You have an Oura ring as well. I guess you track your like sleeping patterns, etc. Right? Yeah, and
I'm a weirdo that is wearing both Whoop and Oura. I was comparing them, but I just kept wearing them for a while. I think the Whoop is much better for performance and sports, and then the Oura is better for general health. What's interesting is they do give you different readings sometimes, and sometimes this one makes more sense, and sometimes the other makes more sense.
Got you, man. And okay, to wrap it up, what else do you want to discuss about the future plans, your future plans or Calo's future plans, and also what advice would you give yourself 5 or 10 years ago?
Okay, you need to decouple those questions. You keep asking like two questions that are both like big and deep, and okay, so future plans for me and for Calo. I'm really excited for the future. I'm fully committed to seeing things through in the next few years. I don't know how long, but I think it's the place to be. Like full transparency. A lot of people look at me and my profile and go like, "Oh, so what's next? When are you gonna like build something else?" And I understand, and I'm a builder. I love building. That being said, we got, I don't know if I should say this, but like I'll say it anyway. We got an acquisition offer not too far ago. And that would have set me, quite nicely.
For life is your generations, probably.
Yeah. But it didn't move me. I would have thought that would have been exciting a few years ago, but it didn't move me. And the reason why was because when I looked at it and when I reflected, I genuinely think that working on wellness, nutrition, health, in the context that we're working on it, and with all the future iterations and verticals and expansions that we're looking at, is one of the most exciting things to do. And again, my personal mission is to build high impact products that serve a lot of people. And I think we're just getting started. Like, I don't think we've done enough building yet. We've been really busy like scaling the capacity and building the operation, building the team, and so on. So like when I thought of it, well, if I have a bunch of cash in the bank and I have nothing to do, I'd end up wanting to still build something like Calo. So I kind of like the current thing that I have. And I believe like the story is at its beginning. I don't know if I'm going to be there forever. There's no such thing anyway, but like I'd love to see things through for another few years. I'd love to explore global expansion. I'd love to explore what it looks like to build a few vertical business lines that are complementary, that are still under the mission of making healthy easy, and see that through. I'd love to continue building the team and build out our leadership team further, take us to the next level and keep raising the bar across different areas and different fields. There's so much to do. This is, I'm not mentioning a lot of those business verticals and products and ideas that we have, but they're so exciting. The future for me is I want to continue building
new products though,
and I want to see.
There must be new products at some point for the customers besides the meal plan.
Oh yeah,
great, can't wait.
Quite a few. So actually it's worth also, I mean, since you asked what's the future for Calo, I would say there are three areas. I sent at the beginning of the year an email to the team titled Shifting Gears. And the concept is, okay, like we got product market fit, we've proven the concept, we've scaled, we got to this point. Now what? Now we need to shift gears. 3 years ago, I didn't know if Calo was going to last for another like few months, or now we need to shift gears on how we think. Like the product market fit is there. This is here to stay, not taking it for granted like the older guys did, but just thinking in a way where we need to build this company to last. We need to build this brand to outlast us, to exist for 100+ years, way beyond my time. So how do we do this? What do we need to do to get there? How can we build it to be a global brand? And the question is, why not? Again, why can't we build a global brand? Why can't a brand come out of the region and go to the US, go to Tokyo, go to Germany, whatever it needs to go? Why can't we do it from here? Why not? There's no reason why we can't do it.
There's literally no reason. 100%.
So I want us to see it through. I want us to attempt doing that. And if we fail, then be it. But I don't want my future self to think, what if only we tried? Let's try. What's the worst that could happen? We're at a stage where we can afford such tests and experiments. We have amazing, ambitious investors that back us and that see that vision. I gave a shout out to the earlier investors. Now the later investors are going to be, love you guys in case you're listening to this. And yeah, so the future for Calo can be summarized in three levers. So shifting gears, there are three levers: model expansion, segment expansion, and geo expansion. Model expansion, 98% of our revenue last year came through meal subscriptions. We love meal subscription as a product or as a model. We think it's here to stay because the world is moving more and more towards eating healthier, and especially when you have a health journey, like you want to lose weight or you want to gain muscle or achieve something, you need that consistency of you have this consistent supply delivering everyday products that are suitable for your goal. So that's there to stay. It remains to be our core, but our mission is to make healthy easy. So we can probably do that with other ways as well, or said in a different way, the customer who wants healthy to be made easy demands and desires that mission being achieved in different forms, not just in meal subscription. Yep. So we're exploring a few different things. One is retail, and that's, we're public about it. We launched a few branches as an experiment last year. It's been about a year, less than a year for most of the units. And it's trending very positively, still very early stage. But then the question now is going to be, how can we make the model work extremely well and then scale it to 100 plus units? So that's one, because I believe the world needs that. Like, so if you look at the top QSR brands, QSR stands for quick service restaurant, and that's just food brands that deliver a ready meal to be eaten. The top 150 brands globally sold $500 billion in food. The top 150. The top 10 brands sold 300 out of that 500 billion. 300 billion out of that 500 billion. Top 10 only. The top one sold 100 billion out of the 500 billion, which is McDonald's. So who are the top 10? McDonald's, Domino's, KFC, Dunkin'. Those are not brands that are very good for you. They're great for your taste buds. Not so good for your health or for your body. So I'm willing to bet in the next 10 to 20 years, there will be a brand that is, better for you, that's going to climb up to that top 10 list. And we don't see anyone who is well positioned to be that. And we believe we can be that brand. So it's a long journey, but why not? Back to the why not. So that's retail. And then there are a couple of other ones. There's on-demand delivery. Like, the world loves to, press a button, get a meal in 30 minutes. We're still not doing that. Like, we reached the stage we're in, delivering like millions of meals without delivering any.
And you have the customers already. You don't need to acquire them again.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Exactly. And we have a lot of the food infrastructure. Not maybe some infrastructure will need to change operationally, but we have a lot of the equation already figured out. So that's an area we'd be interested to see if we can deliver a superior product that the customers are going to love and come back for, and a couple of other models that we're testing out. So that's model expansion. Segment expansion, we serve 3 segments today. There's the weight loss segment, which is the biggest one. there's the athletic or muscle gain customer segment, and then there's the lifestyle or convenience segment that is like, I don't really care about like a particular fitness goal. I just want to eat delicious food that's also good and healthy and made with good ingredients. Yeah, me as well, most of the time. Now I'm on a calorie, like I have some performance goal to get to. Yeah, but yeah, just in case my coach watches this, I'm sticking to the 2,000 calories. So yeah, we are very strong in weight loss. We can be much stronger there as well, product-wise. We're not serving the other two segments as well. And like you gave me also feedback as a customer that you would wish to see more like delicious meals that are more catered towards the lifestyle segment. So yeah, we've grown there. We have a bigger selection there. We're calling it the Chef Picks kind of segment on the app, but still a lot more to be done. And then, so we want to grow the athletic segment and the lifestyle segment, as well as a group of segments that we're calling the wellness journey segment. And those are like wellness focused segments, or people who basically have a particular condition like IBS, PCOS, maybe diabetes, things like that. How can we help them through food, habit building, lifestyle changes, supplements? How can we help them maybe cope with their condition, enhance their symptoms, and live ideally a better life? So that's a group of segments that we'd also love to expand to. And the last part, geo expansion. We want to go global, man.
We'll stay tuned on the last one.
Yeah, we're making progress there, hopefully. And like, we don't know if it's not going to be easy, is all I can say. But we want to give it a good shot.
There's no reason
and
why
we believe
not.
that we can.
There's no reason why not.
There's no reason why not. We believe we can offer a superior product, and we can make Calo a global brand. And we need to prove that.
We will see. Thank you, Ahmed, so much. Last question was, what would you give yourself advice 5 or 10 years ago throughout this journey? I'm pretty sure you learned a lot about yourself and about the startup world. What would be something that would resonate with you and maybe with someone else listening?
Man, there are so many. Maybe I go back to what I started with at the beginning, which is you can do anything. If you put your mind to it, you can do it. If you don't do it, then you don't want it badly enough. If you want it badly enough, you will do it, whatever that may be. If you want it badly enough, you will do it. But if you want your comfort more, you'll make an excuse. If you want your social relationships more, you'll put those first. If you want your nice car or your comfortable job or whatever it is, then you're not going to do it. So if you want it badly enough, whatever it is, you will do it eventually. It might take you a year, it might take you 10 years, but you can do it. Yeah, it's very empowering to think that way.
Yeah.
And I don't know if my younger self knew that. It gives me a lot of peace today, because, and it's part of like Stoic philosophy. Behind me is Marcus Aurelius. Yeah, control the controllables and don't stress the uncontrollables. So as simple as that. So if you want it badly enough, you can do it. The reason why this gives me peace is because I just think, can I control it? Yes, do the work. No,
You'll
okay.
have a good night of sleep at least. Like, you know, you did what you can. You did your best at least.
Indeed.
Awesome, man.
This was fun.
Ahmed, thank you so much, man. Thank you for being humble, for being cute, nice, smart, and for sharing all the insights. It was an amazing episode. And
What cute, man. What is this? You just ruined the outro.
yeah, man, it was really a fun one. Thank you so much. And I'll see you
Habibi.
soon. Cheers.